Nintendo first showed off The Legend of Zelda for Wii U at E3 of 2014. And while we have gotten several interviews with series producer Eiji Aonuma between now and then, no new footage of the game was actually shown off. That changed, however, when Nintendo decided to debut the first ever gameplay footage of the new Zelda at the Game Awards. So what do you say we take a look at this new footage and see what we can uncover? Once again guys, my name is Matt, and welcome to another Zelda Wii U update video. Now, no direct feed footage of the game was actually shown, so all of this was filmed off of a camera, but I'll do my best to zoom it in and make it easier to see. That being said, as the footage begins, we can see Link sprinting up the side of a mountain as the sun sets over Hyrule. A few things that I want to point out are the oh-so-obvious magic meter and hearts, but also the way that Link is dressed. Now, this is no doubt a very early build of the game, so for all I know, this could just be what they had working at this moment, and story and dungeons haven't even been put in place yet. However, for the sake of theory crafting, if we assume those other elements are completed, then my assumption would be that Link in this game starts out with 3 hearts again, unlike how in Skyward Sword you start out with 6. So given that in the footage Link has 5 hearts, we can assume that 2 major temples have been completed, which would also explain why Link has some of his items already, like the bow and the magic meter. But Link isn't wearing the iconic green tunic, and instead that blue shirt that we saw in the original trailer. So this makes me think that at this point, Link hasn't fully realized his role as the hero, and instead is on an adventure for some other reason. Once at the top of the cliff though, we get a nice look at how large the overworld actually is. It's massive, and we're not even seeing all of it yet. Looking down though, you can see a sort of fog around the base. I suspect this is just how the game is currently handling its draw distance, because the game world is so massive, the Wii U can't render it all at once, so the fog is there to hide some of the world so that the game can better display what's important. I suspect this will be changed before release. Next, Mr. Aonuma demonstrates a new feature when in first person. He sets a beacon which also creates a waypoint on the map so that it's easier for players to navigate to something they see from far away. Once they switch over to the gamepad, we can see just how large the map really is. I also want to point out a couple of things, like the icons on the left. The first 2 are used for zooming in and out of the map, and are even demonstrated in the video. The third icon is a little bit strange, but I'm pretty sure that's what's used for creating waypoints on the map. On the top middle, there appears to be a clock or a timer that stays at 1900. Now 1900 military time is about 7 PM, which could be around sunset, so I assume this clock is for telling what time it is inside the game. And if that is the case, for them to include a clock like that tells me that time must play a bigger role in this game than it has in previous Zelda titles. Looking at the bottom right of the gamepad, there's another small icon. I'm pretty sure this is just for the inventory screen, so if anything it just means that you can manage all your stuff on the Wii U gamepad like you could in Wind Waker HD, which should make switching items into such a lot easier and quicker. When Link jumps off the cliff, Miyamoto specifically mentions that Link is using the same sailcloth of Skyward Sword. Now this is actually a very important detail and goes well with one of my older theories about the game. You see, I believe this game will take place directly after Skyward Sword for 2 reasons. 1, the inclusion and use of that sailcloth, and 2, in the first trailer, Link is fighting a large monster which looks like something that could be found in the Lanayru mining facility. If that is correct, I assume the story will play out something like this. The new Link is tasked with the exploration of the new land, which is why he isn't wearing his iconic green tunic yet, and already has some of his items. While exploring, he discovers something or an evil of sorts awakens, and then Link has to become the hero to defeat that evil. Now I know that's a very rough plot, but I don't have too much to work with, but I think you guys get the picture and where I'm going with it. Next, Link is back on a cliff and he gets on Epona. Now while Miyamoto and Aonuma were talking, a few key details were revealed. Like for one, Epona's AI will automatically avoid obstacles like trees and rocks. This leaves the player free to use items such as the bow. Epona seems to be somewhat more automatic now. Aonuma even comments on how he is barely touching the control stick. We can also see on screen that the left control stick is probably used for moving the camera. The A button is used to spur Epona into going faster, and the R button is more than likely used to draw your bow or use any other items. While riding near some trees, Miyamoto and Aonuma continue to talk about how there were once apples in this area, and that you can pick them and eat them if you want to. I find it interesting that Miyamoto brings up that he once remembers seeing apples in those areas, and that they're not there now. This could just be that the apples were removed from the demo, but are planned for the final game, or that the game will feature different seasons, and apples will only be available at certain times. As for their use, I highly doubt a hunger system will be implemented, so I'm going to assume they will primarily be used for restoring HP while exploring, or perhaps they will be used in some sort of crafting RPG type side quest. Now for something very interesting. Once they encounter some enemies, you can hear a metallic clinking sound when Aonuma shoots an arrow at what I'm going to assume is a Bokoblin, which looks very similar to the same ones from Skyward Sword. Aonuma comments on this and says that the sound alerts you to the fact that you hit your enemy in the right location to deal damage. This tells me that the combat has been drastically changed to be more strategic in how you go about attacking your enemies, since you have to hit them in a specific way to deal damage. Another new feature is that Link can vault off Epona, and once he does that, a Max Payne style bullet time sequence will trigger and give the player more time to focus and aim with the bow to take out enemies. This addition seems amazing. I know this is not the first game to include this by any means, but I can imagine how this and other things will spice up the seemingly simple combat that Zelda seems to suffer from. The rest of the footage isn't anything too important, it's just Link riding Epona around Hyrule. Mr. Miyamoto and Aonuma end off by saying that Zelda Wii U will release in 2015. However, they continue by saying that Mr. Miyamoto's Star Fox game that he is currently working on will release before that, and before both of those games release, Majora's Mask 3D will come out. And my current theory is that since Majora's Mask 3D is set to release in the spring, Star Fox will more than likely come out in the summer, which leaves Zelda Wii U to release either in the fall or winter, with winter being my guess to leverage the holiday sales craze to help sell more copies of the game and Nintendo systems. Overall though, there was a surprisingly good amount of content to be picked out of that small amount of gameplay. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below and tell me if I overlooked anything. If you enjoyed this video, a like rating would be greatly appreciated. If you want to spread the word, share this video with a friend. And of course, once again guys, my name is Matt, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.